I'm pretty excited about this. I think, and I'm going to prove to you in the time that I have, this is the greatest time ever to do what we do. We're in a scenario that's not going to be able to be fixed by government. Government does not have the wherewithal, the creativity, any of that to fix what's going to happen in our country and in our world. Unions, corporations, all the things that we used to depend on for fixing what's about to happen in our country and our world are not going to work. The only way that we will be okay is that if we assist the American people to understand that it is time that they took responsibility for their own lives. That is why it's so exciting to do what we do. We have the greatest products we've ever had. We have the greatest problems that we're going to have to deal with, and we've created the greatest opportunity. Now, one thing I want to get clear, because a lot of people for a long time misunderstood some of the presentations I gave, and that was my fault. I used to try so hard to prove to you that I knew what I was talking about, and it really didn't matter. I would actually have agents go out and do the presentations that I was trying to share with them, and they'd go and they'd make the presentation, and here's what they'd do. They'd call me on the phone, they'd say, "Van, I got them all worked up. Now what do I do?" Please, this is very important, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to mess around. I'm really going to come at you very hard in the time that I have. If I catch any one of you going out and saying to the public that I told you that there's terrible, awful things that are about to happen and that's why they have to take action, I'll find you and kill you myself. You got it? That's not what's going to happen. This is the greatest opportunity of all time for the American people to take control of their lives as long as they understand what's about to happen and how to take advantage of it. They buy opportunity, they do not buy bad news. And that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to show you how I run 30 to 50 appointments a week. Last year I wrote 951 apps and I did it in 6 months. I'm out speaking all the time. I'll show you how to get in front of people. I have no marketing costs, zero, none, nothing. Every cent I make is mine. That's what I want to show you. It's exciting. You have everything you need to be successful. Now, let me stop. This is the part. I watched all these lovely people that have spoken all day, and I am respectful to those people. I sat and watched all of them. And every one of them talks about serving. Every single one of them. It took me until I was 40 years old to understand that the secret of happiness is not what you get, it is what you give. Think about people in your life that you love and care about. You're way happier when you serve them and get them something or help them achieve something that they want. Way happier than anything you could ever do for yourself. That's the secret. It took me until I was 40 years old. Second, one of the things that you'll also notice if you watched everybody that was up here, you think in order to be good in this business, you have to have a gift of gab. Nothing could be further from the truth. Please, you will not believe this, and I know you won't. I hid out last night. I came, did as little as I could, and then I go and hide. I'm actually very, very shy. Very shy. If I could have a big screen TV like that, a lounge chair right here, a toilet there and a refrigerator there, you'd never see me again. I had to learn how to do this. These are teachable, transferable skills. If you say to yourself, "Oh, I can't do what Van does," because I used to sit out in audiences and watch that. I can't do what Van does because I can't talk like him. Baloney. I learned how to do this. I'm not an overnight success. I was a failure in this business for 16 years. I hated your guts. Do you understand? I hated you because you were younger than me, older than me, better looking than me, smarter than me, nicer than me. I hated you. And I hated every client I had, every prospect I had. I can remember being in houses and the customer would say, "I don't think we're going to take that." And I would slam my book shut and I'd say, "That's okay. I didn't want you for a customer anyway." I was hateful and hurtful. I didn't like anybody. Who didn't I like? Myself. I didn't matter. And I lucked out. I got fired. I jokingly told you last night at the speaker's dinner, I'm really serious. I believe I'm the reason there's compliance in our industry. I was that bad of an agent. I worked for Bankers Life and Casualty. We had leads. It's the only way I survived. I can remember one lead said, "Dear Paul Harvey, God bless you, Paul Harvey. Please send an agent to our house to sell us insurance." I blew that sale. I want you to understand, you can't lie to me. If any of you in here ever says to me, comes up to me and says, "I'm going to try what you're talking about," I'll kill you myself. There is no try. You either do it or you don't do it, and it's your decision which one you're going to do. Now, how many in here understand that there is no such thing as teaching? There is only learning. I sat and watched Ben Feldman and Roger Zener and Tom Hopkins and Zig Ziglar and every great that you can imagine. And here's what happened to Van Mueller. By the time I would get to that door, I'd start to get afraid. Boy, if I try anything that they're going to do, I won't make that $30,000 a year that I'm making. And then what happened is by the time I'd get to my car, I'd be even more afraid to try what they did because, oh my God, I can just barely pay my bills now. What if I go through a time when I'm not making any money? And I went for 16 years. I'm not an overnight success. 16 years where I floundered and failed and did nobody any benefit. So here's my question to you. I'm going to say it to you again, and if you answer incorrectly, I'm leaving right now, and I'm not kidding. There is no teaching. There is only learning. So I want to answer from you, and I want it loud and clear. I don't want no screwing around. Are you committed to learning something here today, yes or no? And are you going to try and take 3 of the things that we talk about today, and you're going to walk out, and the very next appointment that you have, you're going to try them, yes or no? You promise who? Who are you promising? Yourselves. I failed for 16 years. You can't lie to me. I've been both places. I've been both places. I learned how to do that. You know, this room is filled with so many of my friends, so many people that I love and admire and respect. You know, none of you are my competition. You've always been my benefactors. Always. You want to be in a room full of these kind of people. And you want to tell them when you got a problem, because you know what, if we're sitting at that table there, and you said to these guys, "Hey, I got this case, I'm really struggling with it, I don't know what to do," you think the 3 of them would give you some ideas how to close that case? In any other industry, that's espionage. Yet we do it freely and willingly. It's an amazing time to be an agent. Now, same thing as what Robin was talking about. I just did an 8-hour seminar in New York. I want to help you. I have 7,000 letters at home from agents that in 7 to 30 days, we have doubled and tripled and quadrupled their production. I speak at top-of-the-table study groups, and every year, I do 3, 4, 5 of them every year, and the reason they ask me is because I'm going to show you today how to make sales faster than you could ever imagine. I can't do that in a couple of minutes. I can only point you in the right direction. So if you'll please look at these sheets, the green sheet is for a set of CDs that I just completed within the last year. The middle sheet is for a monthly newsletter that I have. You go to vanmueller.com, I give you 7 sales ideas a month. I'm a nutso psycho analytical. I read 7 newspapers a day, 250 periodicals a month. I start these newsletters every month with 1,000 articles, and I pare them down to the best 150, and then I watch the only true sport left in America, WWE wrestling. And if I can understand what's happening while I'm watching WWE wrestling, it goes in the newsletter. It has to be simple, easy to understand, easy to get. And finally, if you really want to invest, for another $130, there's 10 hours of DVD and CDs that you can apply for, and I brought all the stuff with me, and that's the last time I'm going to talk about it. Now, I think you're the most important. How many people have not seen me speak before? Raise your hand. Oh, this is going to be fun. How many people are not doing as well as they would like to in the business? Be honest. Raise your hands. Okay. It's the greatest time ever to be an insurance and financial advisor. If you're not selling cash value life insurance out right now, you're missing the opportunity of a lifetime. I can prove it to you. There's 4 advisors, and they were arguing over who's going to be the most important financial advisor in the 21st century. Would it be the accountant, the attorney, the banker, or the trust officer? And they argued and argued and argued, and they couldn't come up with an answer. So they sat down and they wrote a letter to God. Dear God, who's going to be the most important financial advisor in the 21st century? Is it going to be the accountant, the attorney, the banker, or the trust officer? They send this letter off to God. A week goes by, no answer. 2 weeks go by, no answer. 3rd week, they get a letter in the mail from God. Here's what that baby said. Dear attorney, accountant, banker, trust officer, I don't think any of you are going to be that important in the 21st century. Signed, God, CLU. You have to understand, it's your time. There's never been a time like this. You know, us old guys that sit around and talk about the good old days. You know, remember the good old days? There wasn't any 40-page illustration for a 10,000 whole life. There was no compliance. I had a rate book. I can tell you the cash value. Life paid up at 65, $710 per thousand, a face amount at age 65. I knew the cash value by heart. There's no such thing as the good old days. You know why? Because back then they didn't have any money. It's the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of mankind, from the greatest savings generation that's ever lived, our parents, to the worst savings generation that's ever lived, the baby boomers. I have 52 credit cards. I charge freaking gum. You got it? Who does that sound like? Does that sound like government? Does that sound like the problem that we're in as a world? The world, you know, we talk about the United States being 17 trillion in debt. The world is 100 trillion in debt. Just went over the number. We're in a lot of trouble, guys. All this garbage that you hear about us being okay, I'm going to prove to you, and I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. I'm going to show you. You get ready. You think the crash was 2007 and 8? You don't even know how to spell crash. It's still coming. And you better be prepared, and if you care at all about what you do, you better be ready to help your clients. And by the way, why would you want to be with life insurance companies during a time like that? Because during the Great Depression, 9,000 banks went under, and less than 2% of the assets of the insurance industry were considered in jeopardy. Less than 2%. We have the ability to take care of people and take care of them when they need it the most. You work at the greatest industry at the greatest time. If you have any doubts, don't have them anymore. It's against the law. Now, this is important. The problem that I have with everybody is that I think we've done wrong in the industry. I think we train people wrong in the industry. And so I'm going to try to prove it to you in a very short amount of time and show you a way that I think you can rapidly adjust your career. Here's what I promised everybody, the people that I've had a chance to talk to before I got up here. I think you will instinctively know as I go through this that what I'm telling you is correct, and you're actually going to say this to yourself. You're going to say, geez, I know that. Why aren't I doing that? That's what you're going to say. That's what I'm going to show you. I want it to be so simple that you really can make this adjustment rapidly. Also, I want you to know another thing that's very, very important. We sell certainty. I'm going to actually hold this up. In a very uncertain time, we provide certainty. There are people that are getting ill, physically ill, mentally ill, emotionally ill because of the uncertainty of the times, and you bring certainty. You guys think all you do is sell life insurance and annuities and mutual funds. That is not who and what you are. You give a foundation to everybody's lives. You know, those people that we had speaking up here, they're important in their communities. They provide certainty. They provide the ability for people to understand what's about to happen and how they can take advantage of it. It's very, very important. Now, let me do another thing. Will you do me a favor? I'm going to ask you a question. If you have an opinion about something, and I have an opinion about something, you tell the truth now. Whose opinion are you most likely to believe? Yours, he said. So why should I ever tell you anything? And why do you keep doing that? Why do we tell people stuff in this industry, especially when we don't know anything? And I'm going to prove that to you too. There isn't one of you that can tell me what's going to happen a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. You can't tell me. Whose opinion matters most, yours or mine? Yours. Don't do that. Yours is the only opinion that matters. And that's what we should be eliciting from our prospects and clients. How do you feel about what's going to happen? Do you want to take risks? Do you want to be safe? How do you want to proceed? But we don't do that. We go in and we do everything backwards. We do the what first, the how second, and the why last. The what is, I got a great policy. I got the best policy in America. Customer goes, that's okay, I'm not interested. Then you go, well, if I plug that policy into this tax program, it'll help you reduce your taxes and you might even get a guaranteed income. Yeah, that's okay, I'm not interested. Then you look at them and you say, what's the matter? Don't you love your family? Don't you care what happens to you? You did the whole sales presentation backwards. You're not going to believe this, but I spend 80% of my time doing the why first. 15% the how, and 5% on the product. And by the time I get to that point, they just say, well, who should I write the check to? And a lot of times they want to write the check to me. I actually have to stop them. I don't want to be the next Bernie Madoff. Dan Sullivan says, no one can ignore a question. They can ignore answers all day, but they can never ignore a question. And questions are not manipulative. Let me ask you as a group, answer as a group. How many people, have you met a lot of people, this is a yes or no, who have organized thinking about investing in retirement? Yes or no? So how can they make a decision whether what you're offering them is worthwhile if they don't have any organized thinking about it? The reason you ask them questions is to help give them parameters by which to judge the advice that you are giving them. This is going to be fun. Guys, I'm going to show you. I'm saving it until I have 10 minutes left in the talk, and I'm going to show you a 4-question sales presentation. Customer last week gave me $800,000. It took me 5 minutes. And I was the 6th advisor in the room, and when I got done, here's what he said. He said, that's the first time I ever knew what the hell you people do. That's what he said. That's what made him buy. That's what I want you to understand. Albert Einstein, just to be clear, said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't know it well enough. Our job is not to complicate. Our job is to simplify. People will give you every cent they have if they understand what they're doing. The problem with most of you is that they like you. And because they like you, they'll buy a policy from you, and so you think you're a good agent. And then you go back a couple of months later and you're standing in the foyer and you say, boy, isn't this a great policy? And they say, yeah, thanks to you, I was able to give $600,000 to Ameriprise. And you go, what? I do that? And the guy says, I didn't know you did that. Ever have that happen? All the time. They need to know who and what you are and that you can take care of them. Now, I don't want you to confuse anybody. Our job is to simplify. It's to make it easy to understand. Finally, how many analyticals in here? Raise your hand. I'm raising because I am one. Ready? Take a gun out and kill that part of you. That doesn't make sales. Scientifically, we used to know it anecdotally, now we know it scientifically. CBS News Sunday Morning had a show called CBS News Sunday Morning. Duh. And on the show, they now have figured out that human beings can only handle, ready, 6 facts at a time, 6. If you give them 7 facts, what will they do? Nothing. And the reason is because they are afraid to make a mistake. They can handle, ready, enormous amounts of emotional information. So we used to know this anecdotally, now I'm telling you the science proves it. You sell using emotion and you support their emotional decision with a few facts. It is so important. Finally, 2 things and then I'm getting to the meat of this. Last year does not matter. Let it go. If you had a bad year last year, it doesn't matter. Get into your year this year, and remember, this is the greatest service industry that has ever existed. It is not about me. Please, I know you're not going to believe this, but I got to tell you, I have 6,600 clients. I swear to you on my children, I swear to you, not one of them knows I'm top of the table and couldn't give a rip. Not one of them knows I was advisor of the year. It doesn't matter. You know what they care about? Am I going to be okay? Is everything going to be okay? And that's our job. And if you have your ego in the way, that's what was wrong with me for 16 years. It's not about us. We don't know anything. We only know how to serve. And the minute you can do that, you have changed your career and you can do it rapidly. And finally, you should study like crazy. Like I say, I read 250 periodicals a month. I read 14 newspapers a day. And there was a guy by the name of Gandhi who said, live as though you're going to die tomorrow and learn as though you're going to live forever. I'm a work in progress. I'm still learning. I don't know everything I need to know. That's why I sit and watch all the wonderful speakers that we've had here today. We are very, very, very lucky to have had all of them. Now, I'm going to do this very fast. Normally I have a lot more time to do this, but I got to get through this in 5 minutes. I just spoke at the Houston NAFA at the Federal Reserve with Professor Robert Shiller. Got to listen to me. You know what he says? He's the guy that created the S&P Case-Shiller Housing Index. He says housing's going to go down 30 more percent, and it'll take 50 years for it to recover. 50. Harry Dent is predicting 6,000 Dow. Robert Wiedemer, who wrote the book Aftershock and called the last downturn, 2007 and 8, right on the button, says the stock market could drop as much as 90%. Weiss Research just issued a warning, said get out of the market now. We passed Dodd-Frank. At the time we had Dodd-Frank, we had $600 trillion in derivatives so that we could get derivatives under control, and now we have 1.2 quadrillion of derivatives. We didn't fix anything. They gutted the bill. It doesn't work. Health care, Obamacare. Please, I'm not for or against Barack Obama. I could care either way. I hated George Bush. I hate Barack Obama, and I really hate independents because they can't make up their minds. You're supposed to laugh at that. If you guys think politics is going to fix this, I got some swampland I'm going to sell you. It ain't happening. And the reason that I talk to you like that is, do you go into houses where they say, hey, if we wouldn't have had George Bush for president, we wouldn't be in the pickle we're in. Or they say, you know, if Barack Obama wasn't the president, we wouldn't be where we're at. Baloney, that's all baloney. It's our responsibility to help these people understand what's going to happen. Please listen to me. Affordable Care Act is nothing more than the biggest cost shifting that's ever occurred in the history of the health insurance business. We cost shifted away from old people to young people so that, and I got to define old people, 50 to 64, so that they could now afford the health care, and we laid the problem on the young people. And we also lied to them like crazy and said, we're not going to touch Medicare. We're still in billions and billions and billions of dollars from Medicare. The GDP of the United States, $3 trillion of our $16 trillion goes for health care every year. I'm about to tell you a sentence. When I'm done with this sentence, you'll know why they will never fix health care in your lifetime. Ready? Out of the $3 trillion that we spend every year, which, by the way, is the third biggest economy on the planet, United States, Japan, China, Japan, and then our health care. It's bigger than Germany, bigger than France, our health care. Ready? Institute of Medicine just did a study. Said $750 billion a year is considered to be waste and fraud. Now, how do I know from that sentence that we will never fix health care? Ready? What is the incentive of the people getting the $750 billion to fix anything? In fact, aren't they using some of that money to make sure we don't fix it? You guys, the new four-letter word of the 21st century, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent, the new party is math. The math doesn't work. The math is all a lie. You got to get that. John Bogle, he says he's a creator of buy and hold. Vanguard Mutual Fund family, buy and hold. He says there'll be 50% drops in the stock market in the next decade. United ICAP, these suckers are so conservative, they wear bow ties to work. They're predicting 5,000 Dow. Goldman Sachs considers this market more expensive than the tech bubble. The tech bubble dropped 80% when it crashed. Please understand, Professor Kotlikoff, Lawrence, you want to Google his name, you want to get him, Laurence, and you spell his last name, Kotlikoff. He's an amazing man. He says the fiscal gap, he doesn't call it the unfunded liability, the fiscal gap for our country right now is $223 trillion. The unfunded liability, go to www.usdebtclock.org. And at the bottom, it'll show the unfunded liability for Social Security and Medicare is $123 trillion a year. Do I have any kids in here under 30 years old? Raise your hands. Okay, you and you. Not you, because I'm going to say something mean here so you can't this up. It's you two. You two are going to be my personal income taxpayers. You got that? You are never going to have a freaking cent to your name. You're going to be broke forever because I am not going to ever vote to not get my Social Security. You got that? So you're never going to have a cent to your name. You two are going to be my personal bitches. You got that? Are you okay with that? Want to know how I can fix that in 3 sentences? Ready? What do you have on your side that I don't have on my side? Time, don't you? What if I could show you how to keep taxes off, guarantee that you'd never lose any money, and that you could still win in spite of everything I just said? When would you want to get started with that? He just bought, and I just told him he's going to be my bitch. No, I'm sorry if that's offending some of you. I'm trying to get your attention. You need to understand there's no bad news. I'd trade with you in a second. With everything I know you think you're about to face, if you want to be me and I can be you, I'll do it in a second. You got it? This is going to be the most exciting time ever to be a human being. I'm telling you, when we come out of this downturn, it'll last until, I'll even give you the years, 2022 to 2025, and then we will embark on the next 40-year bull market. If you can preserve your clients' assets until that time, they will be spectacularly rewarded for that eventuality. Bondholders and pensioners in Detroit going bankrupt. Who's always going to win that battle, the bondholders or the pensioners? Say it loud. The bondholders. The reason is because states, counties, cities, municipalities cannot print money. They got to borrow. And if they ever side on the side of the pensioners and say that the bondholders are going to get screwed, guess what? There's no cities anymore. There's no states anymore. So what's going to happen, and you're seeing it in Stockton, in Harrisburg, in Detroit, the pensioners are getting slaughtered. What are you going to do to make sure that they're okay? Please, I got so much stuff. I'm going to do one more thing. This is a sales presentation. Just shake your head so they know that I'm not lying, that I'm reading it from something. It says, since 1990, the Social Security and the Census Bureau said that the incomes in this country have only risen 14% in 24 years. Food costs gone up more than 14% in 24 years? What about taxes? What about health care costs? What about housing costs? Oh my gosh, so do Americans have a better or lower standard of living? Oh my goodness, and it also says from 2001 to the present, incomes have not gone up at all. How can the stock market be going up if nobody's income's going up? Oh, they're printing money like it's going out of style. Why don't we have inflation? Or do we? Have they adjusted the inflation? They say we have official 2% inflation. What don't they include in the inflation numbers? Healthcare costs, food costs. Anybody bought bacon lately? Beef, vegetables, energy costs. Gas is going up everywhere you turn in this country. But they say we only have 2% inflation. And unemployment. Their own U6 number says we don't have 6.6% unemployment. We have 12.6. because the current unemployment doesn't include people who have lost their unemployment benefits, who are part-time looking for full-time work. Please, I'm telling you, guys, get ready. You're about to go on the ride of your life. We haven't fixed anything. And that's a good thing, because everybody that you get in front of, you will be able to help. Here's your first sales presentation. Write these numbers down. I have to go very fast. This is easy. I'm going to tell you who I make it to. You'll be able to do this in your very first call. The same study said, write this down, 46% of America makes less than $25,000 a year. 46. %46 of America makes less than $25,000. Ready? 73% make less than 50. And here's the final number. 86% make less than 75. Now, if you're in one of the nice suburbs of Minnesota, Minneapolis, and you're married with 2 kids and you make $75,000 a year, are you rich? You know the answer. That's 86% of our country. Write 2 more numbers down and we're off to the races. Average cost of health insurance for a family in our country right now is $16,000 a year. Write that down. I'm going to tell you who to make this presentation to. You're going to make so many sales you won't know which way to turn. If you use 7% inflation, 7 into 72 says in 10 years that the cost of health insurance in 2024 will be $32,000 a year. So, average cost of health insurance is $16,000 right now. It'll be $32,000 a year 10 years from now if we only have 7% inflation. Does anybody sell health insurance in here? Is inflation higher than that in the healthcare? It's way higher than that. I'm using a low number. This is really important. If incomes stay flat, what that means is 86% of America is not going to be able to afford health insurance just 10 years from now. If you're over 50 years old, how fast is a decade? That's a decade. I'm talking 10 years from now, guys. 86% of America can't afford health insurance. Here's the punchline. Who do you make that presentation to? Who do you make the presentation to? No. He said everybody. The answer is no. Ready? Because I don't have time. Usually it's more fun to get the dramatic effect. Ready? Grandma and Grandpa. They're the only people with any money. 80% of the wealth in the United States is concentrated in the hands of people over the age of 65. And I say to them all the time, what if I could show you a way that you could stay in complete control of your money till you took your last breath? But when you're done using that money, instead of giving the money to a government, nursing home, or hospital, you could keep that money in your family so maybe your kids or your grandkids could afford health insurance. Would you talk to me about it? Yeah. Now, you know what they say back? Because they get feisty. They say, well, my kids don't appreciate the value of money. Ever heard that? All the time. What do you say? Here. Whenever you're in trouble in the sales presentation, what should you do? Ask a question. You know, so agree with them. Man, I hear that all the time. I think that's fabulous. I agree with you. Kids don't really appreciate the value of money. Do you mind if I ask you a question? So right away, have I turned him into an adversary or am I on his team? I'm on his team. Let me ask you something. Does the government appreciate the value of your money or do they waste it? Oh my goodness. And the hospitals with their $400 aspirins, they appreciate the value of your money? What about those nursing homes where they charge you $100,000 a year to change your bedclothes? You think they appreciate the value of your money? So let me ask you one more time. If I could show you a way to stay in complete control of your money till you took your last breath, but instead of giving that money to the government, nursing home, or hospital, you could keep that money in your family for generations to come, do you think your children could learn the value of a dollar, especially if they were going to need it for health care and maybe a possibility of retirement? So when do you want to do this, before or after the next downturn? Before. Do you guys see? I didn't tell them anything, did I? What did I do? Answer me. What did I do? I asked him a question. I don't know anything. That's what I want you to instinctively get. The questions. I didn't tell him anything. I'm not here to fight with him. He's my boss. Do you understand? I work for him. And the minute you understand that, then you won't be defending your position, you'll be defending his. There's so many wonderful pieces of information. Do you know why it's important what you do? USA Today. 1/3 of people arrive at death or retirement with less than $1,000. We've already destroyed the middle class in this country. I'm going to tell you who the new middle class is. Get ready. Anybody with 500,000 in assets to 20 million in assets, the government's coming after you. Get ready. They're coming. They're not going to give up on their thing. They're going to come after people and get their money. So, how do I get all these appointments, you guys? I love talking to people. It's so funny. One of my favorite songs is a song from a group called the Tower of Power. They've been a group for 40 years out of the Oakland Bay. I've been listening to them for years, and one of my favorite songs is a song that says, the more you know you don't know. And so I'm a work in progress. I want to learn about people. And so I developed what I call elevator talks. I get so many appointments, I can't run them all. I have my appointment book here, and I'll prove it to you if you make me. I'm 150 appointments behind right now. I actually have people angry at me because they have money to give me, and I've made them put it in a money market to wait for me to get there. Wouldn't that be a nice problem to have? Yes or no? So, I'm with my kids. My kids just graduated from law school. They got really great jobs in Manhattan. And it's May, and I'm in Times Square in a movie theater at midnight. There's 1,000 of us in line waiting to see Fast and Furious 6. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's a really cool movie. And a couple of people in front of us is arguing, and I can hear them. And I turn to my daughter and I say, honey, please don't get mad at me, but I have to go talk to those people. She says, okay, Dad, go ahead, because she knows what's going to happen. I walk up to him and I say, you guys, my name is Van Mueller. I'm an insurance and financial advisor, and I couldn't help but know what you were talking about. I heard you, and I think I could give you some clarity if I could just ask you a couple of questions. Would you mind? What do you think they said? Sure, go ahead. I said, can I ask you something? Do you believe there's going to be another financial catastrophe like there was in 2007 and 8? They said, yeah. I said, do you want to happen this time what happened the last time? The lady says, right, you were listening. That's what we were fighting about. She says, no. I said, so what are you going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again? And I said, before you answer me, watch this question. Why do you keep using a strategy that you already know doesn't work? She said, boy, you were listening. I said, I think I can help. I'm licensed in New York. Both of my children work here. I have to be licensed here. If I could take you to lunch tomorrow, and listen to the words I'm about to say, and there was no cost or obligation. Now, what did they hear? He's not going to sell me anything. That's what they heard. What I said was, and there's no cost or obligation, if I could ask you 6, 7, 8 questions, I think you would know exactly what you need to do. When you're done, would you mind if I bought you lunch tomorrow if there was no cost or obligation? What do you think they said? Of course, they're my clients. I sell people on airplanes. I purposely, when I sit in bars with my friends, I talk extra loud. I say, man, if the American people only knew this terrible event is about to happen, and if they will just set themselves up, they could actually benefit from what's about to happen. You ask people to sit in bar with me, they'll tap me on the shoulder and say, I wasn't eavesdropping, but I couldn't help but hear what you were talking about. I say, please, I don't want to do this in a bar, but I said, there's no cost or obligation for it. Let me come and visit you. I'll give you my card. Call me, make an appointment. When I come and visit you, you'll love the information so much that when I'm done, you'll walk me to my car and hold my car door open. Fair enough? What do you think they say? I get an appointment. I get appointments in bars, on planes. I can't run. And the presentation that I'm going to show you is so powerful that when I get done, the first thing the prospect says or the client says to me is not I want to buy, although they do. The first thing they say is, oh my gosh, will you go talk to my mom and dad? Will you talk to my brothers and sisters? Is there any way you could come to work and give that same sales presentation? I don't even have to ask for referrals. That's my argument about the whole industry. Asking for referrals doesn't work. In order to get referrals, you have to be referable. You have to provide information that nobody else is providing. Here's another good one. Do you have enough confidence in your current advisor to get a second opinion? I'll see you tomorrow at 7. He said yes. You say no. Do you have enough confidence in your current advisor to get a second opinion? So you probably lost some money during the last downturn, huh? So would you like to know how to guarantee that that'll never happen again? And wait, that's not good enough. What if I could show you how every time that ever happens in the future, you'd be in a position to take advantage of it? Wouldn't that be worth an hour of your time? I'll see you tomorrow. I can't run all the appointments. Here's the hottest thing in the insurance industry right now. Robin just talked to you for an hour. Sir, what's the best age to take your Social Security? And from talking to Robin, you now know there is no one answer. I say, you want to know something? 80% of America takes Social Security to their detriment, costing them and their families thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands in lost benefits. If I could show you a way to maximize rather than minimize your benefits, wouldn't that be worth an hour of your time? Did you know that there's actually 567 ways to take your Social Security, and it's against the law for liability reasons for the person at the Social Security office to help you? Wouldn't you want to know how to maximize those benefits if you could get an extra thousands, 10,000s, hundreds, thousands of additional benefits? Now, please understand, you guys, everything we do in the industry, we steal from somebody else. I don't have an original thought in my body. If you steal one thing, it's theft. If you steal a whole bunch of stuff, it's research. So please listen to me. This is the only line I've ever made up by myself. I love to golf. Love to golf. I never golf during the week with my friends. I always golf at the local county golf course. It has 6 par 3s on it. I go at 4:30, 5 in the morning. Who golfs at 4:30 or 5 in the morning? Old people. They always hook me up with a twosome or a threesome. We get to the 3rd hole. There's somebody on the green putting. There's somebody on the tee waiting to hit. And I'm sitting on the bench, and the poor schlub sitting next to me turns to me and says, "So Van, what do you do for a living?" This guy's toast. I have information I know will change you and your family's life forever, and I'm going to tell you something. If you don't know this information, you and your family aren't serious, awful, terrible, don't know how to describe it to you, you're never going to recover, it's never going to be okay. Jeopardy. Now, why did I do it that? Do you think I do it that way when I'm there with those people? They put me in a home. This is a speech. I want you to understand you can put any words you want into it, and if you're a golfer, you guys tell me if I'm telling you the truth now. You know what the guy says to me? He says, "Man, what the hell are you talking about? What did he just give me permission to do? Ask him anything I want." And so I say to him, I say, "You know what? I don't want to wreck your golf game any worse than it already is." And we laugh. Make an appointment with me. I promise I will share some information with you that it will change you and your family's life forever. Please, please, please make an appointment with me. I promise it'll be worth your time. They make appointments with me. Dozens. I never have to prospect. I never have to do anything. Here's the best one of all. If you get anything out of today, and I'm going to purposely ask this woman right here, and I'm not trying to trick you, okay? So don't think that. But I already know what you're going to answer. Fair enough? Ready? If you have a choice, would you like to be rich, or would you want an absolute positive guarantee that you would never be poor? Which one? Never be poor. You could ask 100 women, that's what they'll say, and you ask 95 men, that's what they'll say. Stay there. You be the bad guy. Say rich. Ready? If you have a choice, you want to be rich or you want an absolute positive guarantee that you'll never be poor, which one? What if I could show you how to do that faster than you could ever dream of? When would you want to get started? See, do you understand a proper elevator talk? There's no bad answer. Whatever they say, you get the appointment. Watch this. This is the most powerful line you're going to hear today. This is what we do. She said, I want to guarantee that I'll never be poor. What if I could show you a way that even if you completely ran out of money, you'd never run out of income? And in certain times like this, wouldn't you want to know about something like that? Now, I have a question for all of you. Answer me quick because I'm running out of time. Do we sell stuff like that? Does America know we sell stuff like that? And they're never going to know with you telling them. They'll only know if you ask them. It's one of the most powerful lines that you can ever use with people. They love to answer the question and they want to guarantee that they will never be poor. Anybody in here still sell life insurance? Raise your hand if you do. Ready? Watch this. We make assumptions. They're very bad assumptions. Watch this. We assume that people know what I'm about to ask you. I'm going to use you again, okay? Because you're just close and I'm running out of time. So, no, this is important. Do you think it's fair, Julie, that when one parent dies and there's not enough money, that the children end up losing both their parents? Do you have enough money in your family? And do you want to make sure that that never happens to your children? Do you understand what I'm saying? Don't assume that they know this stuff. Here's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about, I'm from Wisconsin. I have cheese underpants on. Do you understand? We spend more time planning going to a Packer game than we do planning our financial futures. They're thinking about, am I going to have a job? Can I afford gas? They're not thinking about what you do. And the way that you inspire them to want to talk to you is ask them. It's so important. There's please, on the CDs and DVDs, I just gave you 4. There's 50. I'm sorry, I just can't get to them. I have 20 more minutes to go where I got to go, and I got to get this done. How many still sell life insurance? Raise your hands. Listen to this, you guys. Life insurance is the world's safest industry. There's an account that yields 5 to 6 times more than long-term CDs, has guaranteed returns in most cases, does not have to be reported to the IRS, can be accessed by any time without penalty, lets you retire 100% income tax-free, and yet almost no one knows how wonderful these plans are because the government places tight restrictions on the advertising of these accounts, even though they are 100% legal. Why are they secret? I'll tell you in a moment. Who uses these accounts? Well, let's talk about it. President Kennedy, most of the other presidents, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, when he died, had $562,000 of cash value. In his cash value life insurance, that's equivalent to $7 million of cash value. John McCain used the money from his cash value of his life insurance to fund his presidential campaign. The most wasted money ever in the history of the world. Bankers, Wall Streeters, Fortune 1000 executives all use these accounts. Yet 51% of the people who manage equity funds on Wall Street have zero stake in their funds, and they own enormous amounts of cash value life insurance. Bankers take this money that they pay you on your savings, and they make 37 times more on your money and they get to keep it. Life insurance is easily accessible. It is liquid. 4,000 banks own $140 billion of cash value. Bank of America has more money in cash value, $18.5 billion, than all of the value of its 5,600 branches and the second tallest building in Manhattan. Those are valued all at $10.9 billion. Citibank is $4.5 billion. J.P. Morgan Chase, $9.8 billion. Wells Fargo, $19.3 billion. I ask every one of my clients when I read them this, how come the banks don't have all their money in CDs? You're laughing, nervous laugh. How come? Because they put their money in a place where it is dead bang safe, where it is accessible, where it accumulates without current taxation. If you take guys like the guy who ran GE, I can't think of his name because I'm going so fast right now, they're paying his pension using the cash values of his life insurance, and the corporation is happy to do that because they will be reimbursed for every cent of pension money they paid him. You sell one of the most amazing benefits ever thought of in the mind of a human being. You know what customers say to me when I say that to them? They say, man, you really love life insurance. I say, press hard, third copy's yours, make the check out too. Because they just bought. They don't buy what you say, they buy how you say it. Do you believe in what you do? The only way to prove that is to own some. Now, why can't we advertise all the greatness of cash value life insurance? You ready? The government places tight controls and restrictions on the advertising on these accounts because they can't make a dime off of them. If we sold cash value life insurance to everybody in America, there would be no tax revenue for these guys to screw up. When the money goes in, it accumulates without current taxation. When you take it out as a retirement benefit, it is paid out tax-free. And when you die, the death benefit is paid tax-free. Let me ask you something. Don't you think you ought to get out there and tell America this right now? You guys, don't you? And why aren't you? It's the greatest time ever. And who uses these accounts? Well, my favorite place on the planet, Walt Disney. There's no Disneyland without the cash value of his life insurance policy. J.C. Penney borrowed $3 million from his life insurance policy in the Great Depression, turned it into a $3 billion company because he had the money when he needed it the most. Ray Kroc, McDonald's. The Rothschild family, Doris Christopher from Pampered Chef, the Rockefeller family. 68% of these banks have more money in permanent life insurance than they have invested in skyscrapers, IT networks, and bank branches. You need to understand, you sell an amazing product, and the only person that doesn't know it is you guys. Here we go. I promised you this. I love to, can I ask you guys something? Tell me the truth. Can you tell how much I love selling life insurance and annuities and mutual funds? Can you tell? I love it. I love it. I got a second chance. I got a chance to matter. You get that chance, and I learned how to do this. I'm a work in progress. I practice every day. I practice, so that I can get better. I see the mistakes I make where sometimes I let my ego get in the way. It's not about me. It's always about my customer. So I want to show you the 4-question sales presentation. Anybody interested? Watch this. I show up at the house. Come in and I do the warm-up. You guys remember the warm-up, right? You walk in and you go, oh man, is that a great sofa? 7 slip covers. I haven't seen one with that many. Did you get that at Walmart? That is awesome. You walk to the shag carpeting. When did that come back? Everybody's got a picture wall. You go, oh my God, is your daughter gorgeous? The guy goes, that's not my daughter, that's my son. It's hilarious. They sit you down, they say, would you like a cup of coffee? I've never had a cup of coffee in my life, don't know what it tastes like. I'm on a seafood diet. If I see food, I eat it. So I struggle. I actually have a closet big enough to hold 3 sets of clothes. I weigh somewhere between 240 and 280, depending on if I'm running. So I ask to drink water. So can I have a glass of water? But you need to understand, if they offer you something to eat or drink, you're in their home, it's a bonding. So if they're offering you juiced rutabaga, you really ought to take it. But they offer, I say, can I have a glass of water? Here's what I say to them. I say, listen, I don't want to take a lot of your time, and to be honest, I don't want you to take a lot of my time. I want you to understand I'm going to ask you a few questions, and when I'm done, I think you'll be able to easily discern whether I can be of any benefit to you and your family or you and your business. Fair enough? You guys ready? I'm going to start with you first. Think taxes will be higher in the future? Just yes or no? Think they could be way higher? Here's the question nobody ever wants to ask. Do you want to pay them? Well, then what are you going to do to make sure that they don't hurt your investments and completely destroy your retirement? And before you answer that, can I ask you something? What if there was a way that instead of taxes hurting you, could actually use taxes to jet propel your money into the future. Wouldn't you want to know about something like that? Did he just buy? I don't even have to do the second, third, and fourth question. He just bought. Now, why are there 4 questions? How many people in America don't pay any taxes? 50%. So, do they care about taxes? So they're not going to buy because I'm saving them taxes. They're not paying any. So you got to have a second question. Will you help me? Think benefits will be lower in the future? Higher deductibles, higher premiums, more out of pocket. So aren't you going to have less benefits? Doesn't that mean a lower standard of living for you and your family? Are you okay with that? So what are you going to do to replace all those lost benefits? What if I could show you a way to replace all those lost benefits? Wouldn't you want to know about that? Do you see? Third question. If there's higher taxes and lower benefits, help me. Is that going to be enough to fix everything? Probably not. So the government's going to have to print more what? And that's called what? Inflation. Ben Bernanke, he's the guy that was printing all the money. He did a speech. He called it a stealth tax, the most insidious tax that a person on a fixed income ever has to face because it destroys their purchasing power. May I give you an example? Do you know if you and your wife are living on $80,000 a year right now, and we would have 7% inflation? I'm not talking about Zimbabwe inflation or Argentina inflation. I'm not even talking about Jimmy Carter inflation. If we had just 7% inflation, in 10 years, you and your wife need $160,000 a year to live on to have the same standard of living, or said a different way, your $80,000 will only now buy $40,000 of goods and services. What are you going to do to make sure that inflation doesn't destroy your future? And better than that, what if there was a way to get inflation to work for you rather than against you? When would you want to know about it? Right now. Did he just buy? You bet, you guys. You got to get this. Nobody talks to him like this. Nobody. So if there's higher taxes and there's higher taxes and there's lower benefits and the government's going to print more, what'd you say? Money, and that's called what? Isn't that going to cause you guys more and more volatility? And isn't it happening faster and faster than it's ever happened? So let me ask you something. This is really important. Could you make a mistake? And if you did make a mistake, could you lose some money? If you made 5 mistakes, could you lose everything? So what are you going to do to make sure that that bad volatility doesn't hurt you and your family? And how can you position yourself so you take advantage of the good volatility? So here's the deals, you guys. This is what I do for every one of my prospects and clients. What if I could show you how everything you think of as a bad thing, that not only could I keep you safe from it, guaranteed, but I could position you so you could take advantage of it every time. Wouldn't you want to know about something like that? And what am I selling there, the bad news or the opportunity? It's all positive. And you're the only industry that can do it. You just don't get it. I'm sure some of you right now are going, because last year the market was up 30%. You guys are going to yourself, oh, geez, am I doing the right thing, selling them a 3% annuity? I used to think that. Oh, boy, what am I doing? Well, please understand. I have the article. I'll show it to you. Brand new, USA Today. The S&P 500 is only up 61% since 2000. That's an average of 4% a year. If I'd have sold you a 5% annuity in 2000, you'd be better off. Everything reverts to its mean. If you study this industry and what's going on, yes, if you provide them with guarantees that they will never lose any money and that you can always put them in a position to take advantage of whatever opportunity presents itself. And by the way, is cash value life insurance liquid or is the money all tied up? It's liquid. And by the way, do you have to take a loan from your policy or against your policy? Against your policy. So that means even while I take the loan out, my policy's earning interest as if I have all the money in there. Oh my God, what an investment. You guys, you don't understand. I'm freaking here because then my policy doesn't have to go through probate. My policy is incontestable and private. My policy can be controlled from the grave. My policy has creditor protection. My policy has Medicaid versatility. I can take it and turn it into a lump from a lump sum into an income stream. Please. Then what I do is I have you'll see on the CDs and DVDs, I have a fact finder. It's got 5 questions. Once you're done asking those questions, you will have a sale, dead bang. This is fun. I have nothing but fun. And by the way, I have thousands of agents who are doing exactly this. There's actually a few in this room who we've dramatically increased their production, and they did it quickly, and they're having fun. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to understand you have the ability to make a difference right now when the American people need it. There's a lot of danger ahead. There's a lot of opportunity ahead. A quick sales idea. Anybody ever heard this before? If everything's going to be so bad, how do I know the insurance companies are going to be okay? Ever heard that? What do you say? What did you just do wrong? What did you just do wrong? What did you say? They're the only ones? Okay. What did you just do wrong? You told them something. They don't believe a word coming out of your mouth when you tell them something. When you're in trouble in a sales presentation, what should you do? Ask a question. I hear that all the time, ma'am. I hear that all the time. And it's valid. I'm so glad you asked because I almost forgot to explain it to you. Can I ask you a couple of questions? Have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Ben Bernanke? Ben Bernanke was the head of the Federal Reserve for a time, for 8 years. This was the guy who was printing all the money on the planet. You could almost argue that he's the ultimate money person. Do you understand? He's the guy printing all the money. Okay? Where does Ben Bernanke have all of his money? Ready? He has 80% of his money in annuities inside of insurance companies. And you have to say it that way. Here's why. Because I've seen 80-year-old women walk into the bank. They walk up to the teller. Honey, I'm so upset about the interest on my CD. I've seen the teller shut down the teller, walk around, take the lady by the arm, and walk her over to the financial person in the bank, who then sells her an annuity. Where does she think annuities come from? That's right. So you have to say the words. They're annuities from insurance companies. By the way, where's the other 20% of his money? It's in Canadian government bonds. So the head of the Federal Reserve has 80% of his money in annuities inside of insurance companies. So you're going to believe him or Susie Orman? Here's another one. You got to do these fast because I'm watching the time here and I got something I want to close with, but I'm thinking of these great sales ideas. Here's another one. Watch this. Have you ever had anybody where you get them so upset that they go, if it's really going to be that bad, why the heck should I do anything? You ever have anybody like that? Might as well just spend all my money now and I'll worry about later. Raise your hand if you've ever had anybody. I have a lot of them. What do you say? Man, I hear that all the time. That's what you say. You get on their side. I'm on your side. Okay? Can I ask you a question? There ever been bad times in the history of the world before? And during those bad times, even during the Great Depression, weren't there people who made money? Was it the people who planned and prepared or the people that just tried to wing it that were successful? Planned and prepared. So which one do you want to be? And do you want to do it before or after the next downturn? Guess what? She just bought. That's what I'm trying to get you to get. This is how fun this is. And I don't take long. Please, I have a fact finder. You'll see it. The 5 questions. What do you want to happen when you die? What do you want to happen when you become disabled? What do you want to happen when you have a critical illness like a heart attack, stroke, or cancer? You want to lose your house or you want to lose your mortgage? Which one? You want to lose your mortgage. There you go. That's why you need critical illness. What do you want to happen when you go into a nursing home? Want the government to get your money, nursing home to get your money, or your family to get your money? I stole this from Tom Wolfe. It's right from Financial Needs Analysis. You understand the way you got things set up now, that's not going to happen. What do you want to happen when you retire? You want to stay up here in Minnesota and freeze to death? You want to be an old man or do you want to be an elderly gentleman? And what's the difference between the two? One word, money. Want to work on the golf course when you retire or do you want to play on the golf course? I stole that from Ed Slott. Everything I have, I stole from somebody else. But I practice and practice and practice. Ask them questions. Here's my secret. This is what I wanted to stop and tell you, and then I'm going to do a close, and then I'm going to get you out of here in time. because I respect your time. But please, if you want to make a difference in your career and you don't have these CDs, come up and see me. By the way, every CD has my cell phone number on it. I'm not selling you stuff to sell you stuff. I want to help. The guy that saved my career, when I asked him what I could do on his deathbed to thank him for what he did for me, he said, pass it on. And he looks down from heaven and he takes care of me every single day. Every day. There's a philosopher by the name of Goethe which says, he says this, she says this, they say this. When you make a decision to help somebody else, the universe will conspire to assist you. These are all true things. I believe them with all my heart and soul. It's so very important. And while I'm standing here talking to you, I forgot what I wanted to say next. I'm not kidding. I'm having a senior moment. What was I going to say? I forgot it. No, it's okay. No. This is really, really important. I got a million of these closes things. What I want you to believe is that you can do this quickly and efficiently. That's what I wanted to tell you. I don't want you to think this will take months and years. It won't. You can do this in days or weeks. Oh, here's what I wanted to tell you. It came back. Let me ask you something. Do your customers like you better or me better? Tell the truth. Me, you bet. Your customers like you better or me better? You better or me better? You, that's right. You better or me better. And you better believe that with all your heart and soul. And here's the important thing. I don't want you to sound like me, because if you sound like me, then you're a liar. They like you. Your customers love you when they walk in the door, and then you either open your mouth and prove them right, or you prove them wrong. Prove them right every time. Here's how to do it. Please, I'm not going to give you any false modesty here. My questions are some of the best questions in the industry. There's not even anybody close. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys something right now. I'm easily the best insurance agent in this room. There ain't even one of you that's close to me. Boy, you should see you guys twitching. Now, is that true? I don't know. Should you act like you're the best in every home and business that you walk into? They buy your confidence, your belief in what you do. So here's how I want you to do what I'm trying to get you to do. Think about this for a minute. Sometime in the next 3 days, I want you to go into a room with a legal pad and a pen, nothing else. Don't let anybody bother you for an hour and a half, and here's what I want you to do. It'll change your career. I want you to write down every question that you would want somebody who is coming to sell you financial products that you'd like for them to ask you. And then whose questions will they be? Your questions. And they'll be the best because you'll have passion about it, because it's something you care about. So you'll be sure to ask it every time you get in front of somebody. It's not about me, it's about you guys. You're the best agents we have ever had in the history of the business. I wish I could be on every one of your shoulders and whisper in your ear, you are so needed, you are so important, you are so valuable. You are worth every cent of commission that you get paid. You're the most amazing agents we have ever had in the history of the world. Don't let anybody tell you any different. We have the best products we've ever had. It's the greatest time to do what we do for a living. And if you don't believe that, please get out of our business right now. I'm proud of what we do. I'm proud of who we are. And please, for the very, very longest time, I hated all of you with a passion. And now I just love being in a room with all of you. It's hard to get me off the stage because I want to be with you. I love you guys, whether you believe it or not, and I don't care. It only matters that I believe it. This is the greatest place to be right now, is with all of you. So I'm going to close with two things. One of my favorite groups of all time is a group called the Beatles. I love them. Every time I go to Vegas, and I just went to Vegas for my 503rd time. I speak a lot, so I'm in Vegas a lot. And while I was in Vegas, I go see the show called Love at the Mirage, and I see it all the time. I've seen it 10 times, and you should see me. I blubber like a baby when I'm in there. I just cry my eyes out. It's the music, it touches me. And we were thinking about hiring George Martin, one of the fifth Beatle, if you will, to speak at the $1 Million Roundtable when I was on the Program Development Committee. And while we were doing that, here's what happened. He was talking one day to us when we were thinking about hiring him, and he said this about you guys. He said, like love, do we care if somebody's nose is a bit crooked or their face a bit wrinkled? He said, no. The power to move people to laughter, to tears, to violence, the power to inspire people to take action is the most powerful attribute any human being can have, and that's what you guys do for a living. You change the world one appointment at a time, and if you think it's any less than that, then you do not understand what it is that you do. In 2009, I was speaking at the World Critical Illness Convention in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and there was 900 people in the audience, and there was a mess of tables up here, and I was on this riser thing waiting to give my talk, and I told everybody, nobody except the camera person, that I was going to fake having a heart attack a third of the way through. And a third of the way through, 900 people in the audience, I faked having a heart attack, and I fell face first. It hit my elbow so bad, tears were streaming down my face. But in order to make this work, I had to lay perfectly still. They tell me half the audience was dialing 911, and a guy named Corey Collins, who's just a spectacular friend to me, was the master of ceremonies. You know, he's master of ceremonies everywhere. He jumped over his table, and when he got to me on the riser, he touched me, and I jumped up. And by the way, Corey still doesn't speak to me. And I'm going to say to you guys what I said to that audience. Why do you wait until I'm in trouble before you'll help me? Why don't you help me before I get into trouble? Why don't you ask me the questions that I need to be asked so I can be safe, so that I can have success financially, so that I can have success professionally? Why won't you take care of me before I'm in trouble? I get a second chance. I was a dirtball for 16 years. I'm still a dirtball, but I sell lots of insurance. Please, I have a sense of humor about this. I'm a work in progress. Don't ever get caught up in that you're something. The only thing we do is we go out and knock on doors every day, knock on businesses, and say to people, look, we're here to help you. And if you are intense enough about how much you want to help those people, how can you hold somebody away from you that really wants to help you? It's impossible. I'm so proud to be an insurance agent. I hated it for a very long time. And I want to close with this. I'm so proud to be one of you. It's the greatest gift I've ever been given, is that I'm part of this spectacular organization we call NAIFA, and this spectacular organization we call the $1 Million Roundtable, the insurance and financial services industry. It's the greatest time ever to be an agent. Thanks for having me.